Hello and good afternoon to everybody. This is Morten from Inkish. I have the pleasure today to talk to Karl and Andreas. They are in the middle of a journey that they probably didn't expect to be on just a few months or maybe half a year ago. And now they are the founders of a company that I'm sure you will hear more about in the future. It's called CoCoCo. We will talk about the name, we will talk about what they do. But before we get, let's say, started into this, I just want you to know that in some of the interviews and some of the articles I've been writing lately, I have been emphasizing a company like CoCoCo, even though they are as new as they can get, because they have some good ideas. So, guys, welcome here on Inkish. I've seen you somewhere before. Let's start with that. How do I know you guys? Andreas?
Okay. I think we've met first time, honestly, somewhere in America, isn't it? Atlanta, long time ago. Long time ago. And I remember it was a great show.
That was Printing United last year, that's true.
Printing United, yes. Yes, Andreas Aplien, my name, with one of the founders of CoCoCo, so it's Karl and John, who is not with us today, unfortunately. Having a background in the industry for 30 years already, doing software all over the place from pre-press, press to post-press. That's my background, where I'm coming from.
And Karl, I've seen you too. I think it was the same trade show, but I also seen you on some videos. What is your background?
So I have a 10-year background in the printing industry, predominantly around web to print and that type of thing. But going back quite a long history in MIS and software in general, really. And the whole CoCoCo thing really suits me. It's exactly my cup of tea. A very much more laser focused organization, and where we're focusing, that whole connectivity piece is absolutely where I think the whole industry needs to evolve to. I think that's certainly the basis of any movement towards AI. Certainly the basis of, and I think one of your articles mentioned that recently, the basis of automation has to be connectivity. So it's exactly my cup of tea. It's where I feel comfortable. And I feel delighted to join John and Andreas in that really, what I think is really going to be quite an exciting journey.
And just to underscore, when people really would like to meet you in person and talk about what you do, of course they should meet you at Drupa. Do you already know the stand number and the whole number?
We know the hall, and I know the area, but honestly, I don't know this by heart. We know it's in hall 7 in the DNA area. I think it's managed or with Deborah Korn. She's taking care of this from a marketing side. We are with the other startups, and literally we are a startup founded only a few months ago, so we are there. I don't have the right stand number already.
But the hall 7 is not that big, so I'm sure that with your colors and your branding, you will be easy to find, right? Yes. So, Andreas, CoCoCo, we see the branding already here. So, CoCoCo, it actually means something, right? So, tell me a little bit about the name. We will talk about the product in a moment, but just to align everything from the beginning.
Karl, John, and me, we had a long discussion about the company itself. What do we do? Do we start? How do we start? And whatever. And then there was a moment when we came to the name, and there were many names around. It was talking about integration, talking about whatever. But finally, we ended with CoCoCo. And CoCoCo is communicate, collaborate, combine, connectivity. There are many codes in this case, but it's all about, and this is where we are coming from. We're coming from connectivity. So we connect via our platform any member in the industry. We combine the data. So the data is available in standard data format, available for everybody who wants to connect to. And we enable collaboration between partners and companies. And this is a background for CoCoCo. It is sometimes, especially when you come to our webpage, it is wearecococo.com. So it's a bit complicated. In Germany, you'd say Zungenbrecher. It's kind of you're stumbling around these words. But I like the name. I like it very much.
It's always good to have a good name, and I think it's very recognizable. So, I mean, from that perspective, it hopefully also will bring recognition to the market. I would like to ask you a question, maybe to you, Karl, because I mean, both of you have been involved also in sales. So, of course, you work in the software and the printing industry, but you have also been working with sales. The product that you sell, and for people probably starting to get an idea that this is software connecting different technologies, and again, we will talk about that in details in a moment, but how easy / difficult is it to sell the promises of what connectivity can do for your business?
Yeah, so moving away from a conceptual sell into a product sell is the difficult bit. Turning a concept into reality it's been challenging, but I think with any disruptive mentality, you really need to have that as your dividing line. There are always forward thinkers in an industry. There are always those who would be willing to adopt a new technology and try it out because, well, why not? Let's push the boundaries. And we've encountered a number of those organizations in our journey. And in fact, the first of those organizations are joining us right now. So we will have a use case that we'll talk about at Drupa. And of course, a healthy pipeline of very interested parties. Can we convince everybody that they need to be highly connected? Some people are quite manual and happy with that manual process. So I think the entire industry really is on the same journey as we are. But we have those early adopters, and we think the industry is now ready. That connectivity piece has to be the backbone of automation, of course. And everybody is now ready for automation. So I think the two go very much hand in hand, and there will be a healthy adoption of connectivity like ours over the next, I would imagine 5 years would be the timescale for that.
And Andreas, I can't help think about, because for us laymen that doesn't know so much about the, let's say, APIs and connectivity when it comes to software, there are other players in the market that you have some kind of connectivity. I know that also in at Drupa you will see Gelato Connect, you will see Cloud Printer, you will probably see some software from other people that also use the frame APIs. And APIs is of course just a technology, but I was just wondering, because API is to some extent a little bit overused word that doesn't say much in itself, where will you differentiate what you are doing from some of the others in the market?
Maybe let's first step back from this API thing and API only, because I think this is something what we have to face. If you talk about connection, you have to talk about what is existing in the market. We will change the market. Somebody called us the disruptors.
Oh yeah, that was me.
And I think that we will change it, and that we will change the industry, or hopefully we will change the industry, do it this way. But right now we have a situation where JDF, JMF, XML, CSV, FTP, email, whatever is around and will stay for a very long time. Because even if we could convince a machine vendor by today that he will change from JDF to API for whatever reason, his machines, a typical machine, is in the field for the next 20 years. So, and you know how coming back to the question to Karl, how hard is it to sell software in our industry? Let's face it, everybody's still focused mainly on hardware and machine and revolutions, whatever, but the software, which is getting more and more important, getting an upgrade for this software is always difficult, and get the money. So, and this is where we differentiate. We don't want to push everybody to this API thing. If you have an API, we are happy. But if you have a JDF, we are happy. If you have an XML, happy. CSV, happy. MQTT, OPC, OA, whatever. Because this is what we are facing. We are integrating, calling everything is too wide, but everything which is really important for our industry. It could be software, it could be a sensor, it could be a printing press, digital press, offset press. could be Postgres, bookmaking, whatever. And everybody is talking a different format, because some are JDF compliant, some are not, some are already API. We take care that the data you can provide, or your partner can provide, is coming to one centralized data point. This is our CoCoCo, how we call this, the platform. So the data is there available for everybody, and in the way that everybody wants to use it. And if you are using a JDF, then you are using a JDF. There's nothing bad about a JDF, or nothing better about using an API.
I know that, and the reason I was asking is just because, I mean, if you look at, for example, Cloud Printer as an example, right? They connect a lot of printers, but their business model is basically to sell, print, and then facilitate the sales to others, right? If you look at Atomics, they are maybe the ones that are the closest to what you do by connecting all these things. And then you always have to think, and maybe Karl, you can answer this, is when you buy something, is why do I need this, right? Because, I mean, let's put aside that we have different formats, and you're right, API is just a connector basically, right? But why should people be interested in connecting their devices?
I guess we provide the flexibility of doing it their own way. So we're not prescriptive. Any data in, any data out to anywhere. And I think that sets us apart. Really, we allow printers to be universally flexible, but not only in their own makeup, but also in the way that they communicate with fellow printers, people who may, do some finishing for them, or maybe a spread printer for them, a partner for them, who may produce in a different territory for them.
So, but does that mean, sorry to interrupt you, so does that mean, like, let's say that I'm working with a bindery that have one ERP MIS system, and my company has one MIS ERP system, then you're basically the black box between those two systems that enables the connectivity.
Yeah, 100%. So you don't require the same software, you do not require the same machinery. In essence, we can allow multiple MIS ERP systems to work side by side. And for companies to communicate no matter what their architecture is. And I think one of the key marketing things that we've pushed is that our software does not require any change in software or hardware. It allows the customer to almost plug and play that connectivity. And whilst plug and play is probably quite a rich word for it at the moment, probably more like plug and configure. It is the first, we are in the first phases of changing things, and we're not arrogant enough to say ours is the only way. Some people may require just a job routing tool, and that's that. Others may require a full backbone for their business. There will be horses for courses, I'm sure, but we distinguish ourselves in not providing any of those endpoint services. We are merely the connectivity piece.
Yeah. And that is the reason I'm asking about, because, and that was why I was talking about API as a word being saturated, because API and connectivity is maybe also a little bit saturated. So therefore I had to find which box to put you guys in. What I understand from what you have said so far is that basically you have a lot of devices in the market that talks different languages, so to speak, right? And then you have the connectivity tool that basically enable them to talk to each other in a, let's say, structured way that it makes it capable for them to do that. So you are not like Gelato, you are not like Cloud Printer, you are basically, your software is basically providing that connectivity. So when we look at that, Andreas, how does that apply to a business model? I mean, do people pay per service or per use or per month, or I mean, how do you charge things? Because I mean, everybody in the industry is always like, okay, when we pay something, we need to have some kind of a measurable result of our investment, right? So how does that work for working with CoCoCo?
We always, and I'm sorry for that, but just getting a step back and just put this into the picture. Let's face it, the situation is that even if you want to connect, you have to, even if you want to connect via us, you still have to pay some money to the vendor. So to Heidelberg for Prinect to Millimartini for Connex to XYZ. So there is already cost for providing a JDF, able to read a JDF, whatever. And as you pointed out, right, we are the middleman in the middle. We are taking care of all those connections. And but typically to those projects, when you want to connect, let's stick to it. Let's connect a Millimartini and a Prinect. Then you have a kind of a development phase in between. You have a discussion between the guys on site. You have a discussion between the headquarters. You have whatever. And we want to take this hassle away from the end customer. And we want to provide an easy and understandable pricing to this. So our pricing will come starting by 100 euros per integration. And then depends on how many integrations you want to have, what do you want to integrate. Standard machinery, and this is a goal, can be integrated by self-download and self-setup. I think this is the biggest change we are offering to the market, because today, typically an expert comes to your place, is installing something, is then doing a configuration. We think that we can manage this. I think we've lost Karl. That we can manage this via a downloadable and a self-service tool, CoConnect and CoCore. Customer makes a download, sets up which machines he wants to connect, the system configures itself, and then the things are done. So we don't come with big one-time revenues or one-time development costs. We just come with a monthly fee of starting at 100 euro per integration, for example.
Yeah, that changes, of course, the capital expenditure from a huge thing that people need to worry about to a long-term operational cost. So CapEx to OpEx, nice and simple.
I was just thinking that the more devices, I guess that you, in order to make that almost like plug-and-play experience, you will require to be having, let's say, an understanding of, let's say, Connex and Prinect and all the software and all the hardware, all the sensors, everything that you connect to. But doesn't that also require, because I guess that the vendors that you let's say integrate up to, they change their specifications, they change their ability. So there must be a huge updating route all the time to make sure that you have all the features that are needed. Or how does that work?
Maybe I can take it, Karl. Our tool is installed on site, so the customer can do a download, but we can configure and update this on the fly via the cloud. So if there's a change in the configuration, if there's a change in the setup of the supplier, whatever, we can do those upgrades. And we are starting right now. So right now we still do projects, and a typical project kind of have a discussion about what you want to connect, which version do you have, XYZ. But let's imagine we grow, and let's imagine our solution will be available worldwide. We have thousands of integrations. We could offer to a partner, to a supplier, hey, please provide us your update. We check the update. Do we need to change something? Do we need to adapt the interface? Do we need to do something? And then we can reach out to our customers who have the previous version and tell them, hey, there is an update available. It's also updated on our side. So please, if you want to, feel free to do the update, or we support the old version, whatever you want. I think it's a win-win situation, because, as I said, we want to take away this hassle from all those different parties.
But I totally agree, Andreas. But the reason I'm asking is, as you said yourself in the beginning, you are a startup. You already have let's say, a number of services and products that you will show at Drupa. We can talk about them. You have already mentioned CoCore and CoConnect. And I think that every time it comes to investing in software or hardware, for that matter, it is always like, are you the long-term investment? Are you there tomorrow? Because even though it's not a CapEx, it is still like you make your company dependent on this. So I'm just curious about how I mean, nobody can insure anybody 1,000%, of course, but I'm just asking if you have taken into considerations. Let's say that you're working with a software vendor, and suddenly they see you more as a competitor than a super nice friend, and now they basically don't want to deliver the drivers to you, for example.
Yeah, but this is
crazy example, but just
no,
as
no,
an
no, no,
example.
no, 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 no. I'm completely with it, and we already have these discussions where we are potential competitors. First of all, regarding competitors, I think we are moving more and more to a world where the customer has a freedom of choice, and we have to accept this as software suppliers. If they want to go this way, if they want to combine it with that, whatever, we are open. We don't see any competitive situation, even if they are really from a solution standpoint competitors. But on the other side, and this is a change, we are working on a customer project base. So the customer is the driving force in the background. And I think it will be a tough job for any supplier to tell his customer that, okay, we don't like CoCoCo, so we will not support them in the project, whatever. This is a complete, not impossible. You know how, devil in the details. But I expect that this will not become a problem, because when the customer is asking for, hey, I would like to connect this one with this one with this one via CoCoCo, please help them and be available for support. And this is all we need, nothing else.
Makes sense, and I agree with you. And I think that this collaboration mindset that is actually across many different industries now is, of course, a very strong argument for investing in something that will have that longevity to the service and the solution. The reason why I'm also asking is, and I'm not trying to be too critical, because I really like what you're doing and things like that, but I also think it's important that people ask the right questions. So the background you have for creating these services, I mean, I guess that you must. I mean, one thing is that you work. Was it Manroland you worked for, Andreas?
Manroland, Miller Martini, Aqua.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, the let's say the background that you have from the printing side doesn't make you to a genius in software, right?
Lucky we have a genius. Unfortunately, he's not with us today. This is our head of development, John.
So I might be able to help with a little bit of clarity on the longevity thing too. Whilst we do have a genius in charge of development, there is, of course, a longevity and almost a disaster recovery element to any business, and that is partly my background. So the interesting thing is, with software, you can escrow it, so you can set it into almost a bank for software and make that readily available for anybody who needs that long term, should there be any lack of longevity. So absolutely, we understand that's a concern, but we're providing services on really high-end architecture that's really trusted to the highest of standards. And if anybody needs that reassurance, then of course talk to us about escrow, and there's a solution there for that.
I don't think that is. I mean, I don't get me wrong. The reason I'm asking is just because I want to take the pain out of the discussions before they talk to you. So people that want to listen to you basically can say that, okay, you have actually thought about these things. You are. So basically that elevates the conversation with you guys when you meet them at Drupa, because now it's more like, what can it do to my business? And I understand fully the connectivity to it. I know that you will not share names of any of the customers that you have right now, but can you share maybe one story, and that is more like, what has it given to them? What has the value of the CoCoCo been for it can be a thought of customer or a real customer. I don't mind.
I think we have an exact statement, don't we, Andreas?
Yeah, we have a statement for one of our customers. And maybe talk about the project. We got a project where we had to connect and as we said, we don't want to name them right now because we want to show this at Drupa and we want to be sure that everything is
the name. That's fine. Yeah.
But we had a task where we had to connect an ERP system, a pre-press system, and a post-press system. And the given time frame was 6 weeks from signature to delivery. And we delivered this in this 6 weeks, and we now already get the next orders from the same customer for integrating his pre-flight software, his automation engines, his calendars and talking about AI supply. This is where we are coming from. This is, and his statement was really that I think I would not have been able to do this within this given time frame with anybody else. And I think this is a benefit of being a newbie and being maybe later to the game. But this means that you've learned what other did and what other did wrong, and that you can rely on modern and really actual software and software approaches. And having get this ready within 6 weeks, and I was there during installation. It was after day one when we got the first setup. The system was already able to talk to each other. We were connecting. There were some minor changes to do. Done. This was a first beta test.
If I should be a little bit tough on you, and it sounds like I want to talk down to you. I don't want to, but I'm just curious about it. Karl, and I asked Andreas about the benefit of what you delivered, and he started talking about what you delivered. So can you extend on that?
Yeah, for sure. Data wasn't transacting between the ERP and various other parts of the business. So we fixed those holes. And the benefit of that is clearly time saving. We removed manual operation. We saved time, we saved money. Not just once. That's a repeated saving. Every day that's a saving. So yeah, clearly the benefits are, of course, time and money. But you know what? We're starting to develop a backbone for that business. And that will be the basis of a much wider cost saving when other elements of that business can automate into that same framework. So I believe we've set them on a pathway to the future. And that, I think, is the biggest benefit we've brought to them.
So if I could give you an advice, maybe you're not selling the software, maybe you're just selling more profitability, basically, because what you talk about here is something that sounds like with €100 per month per service you integrate, it seems like walk in the park, because basically that should be easily saved if you have these kind of integrations. One question I was a little bit curious, because with all these connectivities that you talked about here, Karl, is that like off the shelf solutions that they already had, and then you were able to connect these, or was it even something that was home tailored? Or I mean, I'm a little bit curious about because I mean, if you take the latest and the newest of everything, sometimes it's easier. But can you really get that advantage of using CoCoCo as a supplier on a lot of different kind of technologies?
Yeah, so as we suggested earlier, there's no requirement for you to change your software, which means that we will work with multiple technologies across the board, and indeed it will be our responsibility to keep those connections alive and going. Now, you know, for us, and indeed for the end user, the real benefit here is that their multiple elements of software don't need to be upgraded, they don't need to be downgraded or replaced. As we then create that connectivity piece, it's advantageous to those software vendors to then also work with further partners to fulfill further gaps. And again, it goes back to where's the problem? What is the problem? And that problem really is we can't communicate between here and here. We can get it to there, but then it talks a different language. Now, if we're all firstly talking the same language, that simplifies things, but not everybody does. And going back to your API question earlier and linking that in, it's not always about how you communicate. The main thing is that you do. The idea that we all talk the same language immediately is that's, you know, there is no technological change that happens instantly, and there's always a phased approach. I do think we will move away from JDF and that sort of, I mean, I could say it's more old-fashioned, but it's a language like any other, so you know, that would be rude. But to say that that's going to be the future, I don't think it is. I think there's going to be a phase where we have both. But APIs will become the mechanism by which that language is talked. I think that's 100% the future of the print industry, because that's then quick, efficient, and can be maintained very easily. The big problem with creating a communication pathway nowadays is not just the creation of it, but the maintenance of it. If anything changes at one end, then you have to change multiple ends sometimes. And that, again, is what we resolve for not just the printer, but for participant parts of the industry. So software vendors, hardware vendors, and so on.
When you sell CoCoCo, are you talking to the CEOs, the CTOs, or who are you talking to?
Who has the problem is the question.
Yeah, that is probably the CTO, but the CEO, he wants to make as much money as possible. So I was just wondering, because
and the production manager doesn't want to log into 13 pieces of software, and so on and so on. So yeah, I mean, it's valuable to everybody in the chain, really. Our target is, of course, the guy who signs the check, but they can be influenced by absolutely anybody in the chain. So we're not prescriptive. If you are a production manager and you want to talk to us, please do. If you work in the IT department and you have that remit, again, that's our cup of tea. So we're not prescriptive. Again, Morten, if you would like to sign up today, please feel free.
Yes, I would. I will have. Give it to me. Give it to me.
We will. We need some time before Drupal, but we will. But I think, and this is kind of, we are circling around this, and based on your questions, and this is kind of thinking about how can you be sure that we will be there in a few years, who we are talking to, whatever. And if you kind of step back a bit about our approach again and think about, we have a really low level of costs for entry. So if you want to connect 2 or 3 devices, it will not be thousands of euros. It will be just a trial could be done for 2 or 3 months below 1,000 euros, for example. And then you see if it is running or not. And you can define, or you can decide if you want to activate this and add more, or only activate it for peak season or whatever. This is one thing. And the other thing is who we are talking to. When you can download the device and when you can start using it within 5 minutes, then we are talking to everybody, because it could be the boss who does it and just tries it. It could be a partner of us who says, oh, I need to have an integration with your machine, but I don't have a module, but there's CoCoCo, please use it and let's try it. And then we will kind of get away from this typical sales process. We will still have big projects, and we will still have projects where we are in with a full force of sales. But the goal is to have a platform where everybody can download his piece of software, his integration tools, and can set it up on his own way. And we even allow them to use something we are developing right now, a bit of a low-code platform. So if you want to have an additional automation to our integration, you can use the low-code for if then that things and so on. So it is really, it's new, and honestly, I can't imagine all the possibilities we have up to now, and I'm really looking forward to have all those discussions during Drupal and learn much more about the feedback of our customers.
Last question to both of you. What can people expect from you guys when they come to Hall 7 and a yet undisclosed booth? Well, how will you? I mean, because is this easy to show, or is it? Because I mean, sometimes when you have computers, it's like, oh yeah, now you see a bit coming here and a flag coming here, and then it's out there, right?
I have a. Can I start, please? Because we will do the most boring presentations of the world.
Okay.
Because let's face it, what do? We are in the background, and the benefit of connecting your phone via CarPlay, if you have an Apple phone, with your car is we are the platform in the background which connects an Apple device with any car. So this is kind of a platform. But nobody's talking about the platform. Nobody's talking about, but it's hey, it is easy to use my own phone in this car, and this is a Ford, this is a Mercedes, this is an Audi, this is an XYZ. And this is what we will present. So we will show for sure different integrations. We will show integrations between different vendors. We will show bits moving around. But we will not do a typical presentation, because a presentation is a friend of mine always said, a presentation is like a credit card. You get the money, but you don't know where it comes from. This will be a live demo so that you see that there's cash money around and there's something really behind it. Maybe Karl.
Fantastic.
Sorry.
Well, I would go to the opposite end of the scale. I'm super excited, right? Because I think for the first time ever, we're actually showing a truly agnostic system of connectivity. We're not showing this is our service. What we're showing is this is how you can combine any number of services. So I'm excited by that. I'm excited. You are right. Visually, on screen, you're going to see some data flowing from one thing to another. But the enablement of that is super easy, right? We're not talking. We could virtually show you how to hook it up there and then. And I think that is truly unique. That's world beating. It doesn't need setting up in advance. It can literally be choose this, choose that, watch the data flow. And that for me is really, really super exciting. And yeah, I'd be delighted to get excited about it on the stand with somebody if they want to come and get excited about it with me.
I am sure they will. I think it is wonderful to talk to you and also get a little bit of behind the scenes of what is going on with this new name, CoCoCo. And I want to thank you both for taking time to be here, and we will for sure meet each other at Drupa. I wish you all the best, and I think that the biggest thing is, and this is for all software for companies. I remember when I was at Drupa, I can't remember if it was 12 or 16, and I visited the EFI booth before they were split up into atoms. And it was so strange because when you got to the booth, there was like a long row of, let's say, 20 computers, right? And everybody was sitting with their back to it because they got personal presentations of what they were seeing. And I was just like, whoa, man, from a branding and communication perspective, this is a challenge. But it will be interesting to see because the computers and what you are offering is something that I am a true believer has it is not just needed, it becomes like really a necessity for the printing companies in the future. So well done, gentlemen, and all the best with your venture.
Thanks.
Future is pink.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.